adaptive radiation. What is adaptive radiation? The best example here is, we already know Charles Darwin has a voyage on HMS Beagle to the Galapagos Island. There he observed finches. Later we call that as Darwin's finches. There, so we have the island. Assume that they have only trees, right? They have only trees. To the trees, there are competition of many birds. So many finches we have. So to that finches, these are the only source. So for that, and they also have to survive for the food. So what do they have done? They transformed their beak for eating seeds. They transformed some of them for a beak for eating leaves. They transformed some of their beaks for eating bark. So these transformations has allowed them to survive in that island. Okay, so they all came from a same ancestor called seed eating. Because assume that seeds are very less on that island, so they modified their beaks into various eating ways. For example, if I only came from an ancestor which we eat only rice, but rice is very limited. Obviously, the dominant species will eat the rice, so that's why I also have to adapt myself to eat chapati, right? So this is what that is going to tell in Darwin. Darwin finches is one example, and other one is Australian marsupials. We have two examples for adaptive radiation. Means how they got adapted to themselves, to the habitat and to the feeding habits. So coming to the adaptive radiation, here you have one more word also. This is an example of convergent evolution. Let's talk about this. During the journey of Darwin went to Galapagos Island. There he observed the amazing diversity of creatures, means various creatures of particular interest. Some small blackbirds, later called the Darwin finches, that amazed him. He realized that there were many varieties of finches in the same island. All the varieties, he conjectured, evolved on the island itself. So he came to know that they got evolved on the island itself. From the original seed-eating features, many other forms with altered beaks. So they have original seed-eating features. The ancestors were seed-eating, but many other forms with altered beaks he observed. So different beaks, enabling them to become insectivorous also. Because all cannot depend on the seeds, right? Because the seeds are very limited for all those things. So you have variety of beaks for these finches. They found in Galapagos Island. You can see the beaks will be keep on changing. So because they can eat the insects also. And the vegetarian finches. And we have the insectivorous and the vegetarian finches. This process of evolution of different species in a given geographical area, starting from a point or literally radiating to other areas of geography. So to accommodate the habitat of that place, we call that as adaptive radiation. How they got adapted to that particular environment, even though they came from same ancestors. So Darwin finches represent one of the best example for this phenomenon of adaptive radiation. Another example is Australian marsupials. A number of marsupials means pouched mammals. So each different from one another, but evolved from a same ancestral stock, right? But all within the Australian island continent. They can't go outside that Australia. So they have to adapt in that environment itself. So each and every marsupial has adapted a different thing in order for the eating habits based on the temperature environment. When more than one adaptive radiation appear to have occurred in an isolated geographical area. If you have two geographical area, and if they have seen the same type of adaptation, you can call it as convergent. Isolated geographical area representing different habitats. Here you have one habitat, Here you have one habitat and here you have one habitat. Same type of things, adaptive radiation are seen. So we can call this as convergent evolution because same type of organisms are forming. So you can see here the marsupial radiation. The very first thing, remember about kangaroo, marsupial rat, banded anteater because they eat ant. And we have the tiger cat, Tasmanian wolf, sugar glider, marsupial mole, kolal, bandicoot, wombat. Okay, so you can see this placental mammals in the other regions and Australian marsupials. Some type of similar organisms will be present in the different habitats, right? And same type of adaptive radiation is only takes place in different regions. So that's why this will comes under convergent point. Marsupial mole, anteater. So here we call it as numbat. Mouse, marsupial mouse. This is remembering easy. You have to remember the anteater and numbat. And lemur, spotted cuscus. Both look same. Flying squirrel and flying phalanger. Bobcat, Tasmanian tiger cat. Wolf, Tasmanian wolf. So different thing is anteater and numbat, and lemur and spotted cuscus. And we have the bobcat and Tasmanian tiger cat. These things are quite different, remaining all are same. So placental mammals in Australia also exhibit the adaptive radiation in evolving into variety of such placental mammals, each of which appear similar to the corresponding placental mammals in other area. Like for example, placental wolf and Tasmanian wolf marsupial, both will look similar. Both will have similar adaptation. Like that you can able to differentiate.